Hello students, this is my first video on Indian Contract Act and this video will be useful for your CA, CS, CMA and BCom as well as other law or commerce related courses. So I will be uploading the entire topics of the Indian Contract Act which will be useful for you. So let's begin. So, first slide here covers the basic introduction of the Contract Act. So, law relating to Indian Contract Act is governed by the Indian Contract Act 1872. This act came into force on 1st of September 1872. So these questions, these can be covered under the objectives of the objective type question, or you can, also quote the dates and years in the big questions to so that that can give you good marks or good weightage you can get. So you can remember these dates, okay? This act is divisible into two parts. First part, which covers section 1 to 75, covers the general principles of the laws of contract, which we will be covering in the entire Contract Act, right? And second part covers section 124 to 238, which covers basically the special kinds of contracts, namely contracts of indemnity and guarantee, bailment, pledge, and agency. Now, the third slide covers the meaning and the nature of contract. So, the Indian Contract Act has defined contract in section 2H as an agreement enforceable by law. So, what is a contract? Contract is a combination of two elements, agreement plus obligation. Therefore, for a contract to be enforceable, there must be an agreement which must be coupled with an obligation. Okay, so what is an agreement and obligation? We will be dealing in the next slide. But first of all, you should know what is a contract. Contract is an agreement enforceable by law. Okay, and the contract is also the combination of two elements, agreement plus obligation. Okay, now next, moving to the next slide. So, what is an agreement? An agreement comes into existence when one party makes a proposal or offer to the other party, and that other party signifies his assent thereto. That means the other party accepts the offer. So, in nutshell, an agreement is a sum total of two things. What? First, there should be an offer. Second, that offer should be accepted by the other party. So, for example, I am making an offer to you to buy a pen, okay, and you are accepting that offer, so that offer and acceptance makes it a valid agreement. Okay, so now what is an obligation? An obligation is the legal duty to do or abstain from doing what one has promised to do or abstain from doing. A contractual obligation arises from a bargain between the parties to the agreement, who are called the promisor and the promisee. So, quoting from the above example, where I have asked you, offered you to buy a pen from me, okay, and you have accepted that offer. However, there was a condition, there I am adding a condition that you are buying a pen from me, but I will be providing you the pen after 2 days. But you are now creating an obligation over me that you will buy the pen, but that should be provided to you by tomorrow. Okay, that means you have accepted my offer to buy a pen, but pen is supposed to be provided tomorrow, not after 2 days. Therefore, from the above two definitions, it can be understood that for a contract to be enforceable, there must be an agreement between the parties, and that agreement must be coupled with the obligation. Understood? Okay, and these things will be become more clear to you in the coming videos. Okay, Abhi, this is a basic introduction of the contract. We will be dealing this in totality in the other videos as well. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. While we enter into a contract, there arises the rights and obligations of the parties, right? So we will be understanding those rights and obligations with the help of the examples in this slide, okay? Huh. Where parties have made a binding contract, they have created rights and obligations between themselves. The contractual rights and obligations are correlative, right? Example, A agrees with B to sell his car for rupees 10,000 to him. In this example, the following rights and obligations have been created. A is under obligation to deliver the car to B. B has a corresponding right to receive the car. Second, B is under an obligation to pay rupees 10,000 to A. A has a correlative right to receive rupees 10,000. So, from this slide, we can understand that जब भी हम कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में एंटर होते हैं तो राइट्स और ऑब्लिगेशंस दोनों पार्टीज पे आते हैं मतलब अगर हम कोई डील कर रहे हैं इफ हम प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं उसको कार वी आर ए इज प्रोवाइडिंग कार टू बी तो बी को कार तो मिलेगी लेकिन ए को उसके बदले में 10,000 रुपीज भी मिलेंगे तो बी का राइट है कार लेना ए का राइट है 10,000 लेना ठीक है ए का ऑब्लिगेशन है कार देना बी का ऑब्लिगेशन है 10,000 रुपीज देना ए को करेक्ट सो दोनों पार्टीज पे राइट्स और ऑब्लिगेशन अराइज होते हैं जो कि कोरिलेटिव होते हैं करेक्ट ठीक है ना नाउ मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड so there are many agreements which are not at all contracts ठीक है agreements in which the idea of bargain is absent and there is no intention to create the legal relationships are not contracts at all right जिसमें bargaining position ही नहीं है जिसमें कोई भी intention नहीं है to create the legal relationship so that is just a general agreement between the parties that cannot be concluded as contract. For example, first, agreement relating to social matters. So, ये मैं आपको explain करूंगी ऐसे कि मैंने आपसे बोला कि कल हम मूवी देखने चलते हैं ठीक है फिर मैंने आपसे जब मूवी देखने का टाइम आया मैंने मना कर दिया कि मुझे कुछ काम आ गए तो मैं मूवी देखने नहीं जा पाऊंगी तो ये कोई जो मैंने बोला कि कल मैंने आपसे बोला कि मैं मूवी देखने जाऊंगी तो ये कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नहीं था एक जनरल सी बात थी कि हाँ कल चलेंगे बट कल नहीं जा पाए तो कोई बात नहीं तो ये बहुत बेसिक सी चीज है इसमें आप मुझे आके वापस कभी सू नहीं कर सकते कि आपने तो बोला था कि हम जाएंगे बट हम नहीं गए तो जो आपकी बेसिक डीलिंग्स होती हैं दैट आर नेवर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट राइट फिर सेकंड डोमेस्टिक अरेंजमेंट्स बिटवीन हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ द आर नॉट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स तो हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ के बीच में डोमेस्टिक अरेंजमेंट जैसे घर के खर्चों को लेके घर की चीजों को लेके जहाँ सब कुछ ठीक है आप उस वाले केस में मत जाइए जब हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स हो जाती है आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट अ हेल्दी रिलेशनशिप जो एक हस्बैंड वाइफ के बीच में होती है कि उन्होंने वाइफ ने बोला कि आज आप ऑफिस से आते हुए मेरे लिए कुछ खाने पीने का लेके आइएगा लेकिन हस्बैंड भूल गए इस चीज पे पहले तो हस्बैंड ने कह दिया हाँ मैं लेके आऊंगा फिर शाम को जब वो आए तो लेके नहीं आए तो दैट डजंट मेक्स इट अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट क्योंकि पहले उन्होंने हामी भरी तो दैट डजंट मीन्स दैट दैट इज अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दैट इज बेसिक agreement so we cannot conclude such things like agreement relating to social matters and domestic arrangement between husband and wife as contract okay moving on to the next slide so for to prove the legal validity of a contract, there are essential elements of a valid contracts. So, अगर कभी भी कुछ conflict होता है and the contract is being dragged in the court of law, तो we need to prove that जो contract हुआ था that was a valid contract, उसके लिए we need to check the essential elements of the valid contract. Okay, so I have quoted down the 8 essential elements of the valid contract. First one, an offer or proposal by one party and acceptance of that offer by another party resulting in an agreement. First of all, there must be an offer or proposal by the one party and that should be accepted by the other party. तो that उससे क्या होता है, ऑफर और एक्सेप्टेंस जब होता है तब क्या बनता है, अग्रीमेंट, which is also called consensus ad idiom. Okay. Second, an intention to create legal relationships. तो जब भी हम एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में जाते हैं तो हमारी एक इंटेंशन होनी चाहिए कि लाइक वी आर क्रिएटिंग अ लीगली बाइंडिंग अग्रीमेंट, क्योंकि देखो इफ वी आर ब्रीचिंग द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट तो हम पे लीगल कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस आ सकते हैं, तो बोथ द पार्टी शुड बी अवेयर कि हाँ वी आर एंटरिंग इनटू दिस अग्रीमेंट and we have to fulfill all the rights and obligations that may arise, otherwise that can lead to legal complexities. ठीक है. Third one, the agreement is supported by a lawful consideration. What is a lawful consideration? The consideration is the object in which you are dealing. For example, as I am taking from the previous slide, so they were buying a car. So car in return of which they were the second party was making a payment of rupees 10,000. So there is a car and the payment of 10,000. So there is a lawful consideration involved between the in that contract, right? Fourth, the parties to the contract are legally capable of contracting. See, they both are, over the age of 18 and they have they have all the legal rights to enter into the contract as per the Indian Contract Act 1872, which we will be dealing in details in the coming slides. Okay. Then fifth, genuine consent between the parties. So both the parties should have consented to enter into that contract. Free consent should be there. This is not, there should be not that I am forcing you to enter into a contract या फिर धमकी देके किसी को contract में enter करवा लेना. That shouldn't be there. Okay. Then the object and consideration of the contract is legal and not opposed to public policy. अभी जैसे ऊपर हमने देखा, same like that. Then seventh one, the terms of the contract are certain. Contracts की जो term होनी चाहिए वो बिल्कुल certain होनी चाहिए. It should not be कि कुछ भी लिखा है that is vague. No, that should be absolutely certain. Okay. 8. The agreement is capable of being performed. That is, it is not impossible of being performed. कुछ भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में हम ऐसा प्रॉमिस नहीं कर सकते हैं कि जो हम परफॉर्म ही ना कर पाए. सो दैट शुड बी capable of being performed. Okay. So these are the elements of a valid contract, and each element we will be dealing in totality in the upcoming videos. Okay. So this was the end from my side, and this is the end of I will be providing you with all the videos of Indian Contract Act. ठीक है, मेरे पास नोट्स भी हैं. अगर आपको नोट्स चाहिए, वीडियोस वाइज नोट्स चाहिए, तो प्लीज आप इस वीडियो में कमेंट करके मुझे अपना ईमेल आईडी प्रोवाइड कर दीजिए कि आई नीड द नोट्स आल्सो, डिटेल्ड नोट्स. तो मैं आपको वो आपकी ईमेल आईडी पे मेल कर दूंगी. और प्लीज मेरा ये फर्स्ट वीडियो है, तो रिक्वेस्टिंग फ्रॉम यू ऑल टू सब्सक्राइब टू माय चैनल. और इस पे मैं रेगुलर बेसिस पे बहुत सारे वीडियोस अपलोड करूंगी टॉपिक वाइज, जो कि यूजफुल होंगे बीकॉम, एमकॉम, लॉ रिलेटेड सब्जेक्ट, सीए, सीएस, सीएमए, एवरीथिंग दैट विल कवर with the notes. But notes के लिए आपको मुझे मेल करना पड़ेगा on the comment box. Thank you everyone. Okay.